And I don't want a rematch. Why do you think they call me the genius?
Okay. Talk about doing jobs. Lanny beat me. He's 1-0. I've been challenging Lanny for 25 years. He will not take the rematch. But I love this guy to death, you know. And he gave me the great honor of helping him induct his brother into the Hall of Fame. And that was one of the greatest days of my life. Randy and I had a long history, kind of volatile sometimes.
So did I.
But the good thing was, at the very end, Randy and I ran into each other in a hospital. Your mom was having some heart problems, and so was I. I was on my 8th or 9th back surgery. I couldn't pass an EKG. I was sitting on a little teeny chair in the doctor's office, and all of a sudden the door opened. "Oh yeah, brother, what's up, Hogan? How's everything hanging, brother?" I looked at Randy, scared to death, and he had a wedding ring on his finger.
Yes.
And he had the gleam back in his eye. He was way cool and really nice to me, and we became friends. It was a few months before he passed away. But it was a great honor to see Randy and to just know that he wasn't mad at me anymore. So that was a great day.
But you and I have never had a negative word.
Never.
And I just wanted to say, I was leaning over the balcony, hoping somebody would notice me. And I wanted to say something from my heart. Thank you, all you wonderful fans. You know what you did? Very few of you did not come up to me and say something nice about my brother. And on May 20th of this year, it'll be 5 years he's gone. And I want to say, you told me how much, and some of you weren't even born then when he was a big star. But because of WWE Network and because of DVD, you all had something nice to say about the impact that he made on your life. And it meant a lot to me. So, thank you to the fans. And I was thinking, I had a gimmick, you know, that I do poetry all the time, you know. And the first one I did for the Hulkster, and you can see my metamorphosis, okay? So I said, when the Hulkster hits the ring, that's when it hits the fan. A nuclear explosion from a modern Superman. There never is an empty seat. They line up in the rain. Not even Halley's Comet could make the fans refrain. In the magic of the moment when the action gets intense, kids from 6 to 86 are raptured with suspense. We've never seen a hero of such magnitude before. He's been the champ for 30 years, and here's to many more. WrestleMania 3, I wasn't invited. They used me as a sacrificial lamb for Andre the Giant. I got a little gimmick on the... You know, it's amazing about how they are. You know, Dick Ebersol, Vince McMahon, everybody, oh, Lanny, you're going to be great. Oh, we need this real bad. And then afterwards, they don't even care if I coagulate. You know, they just leave there in a pool. I couldn't even stop the bleeding. But I said, to get over the big main event, I said, in this world of wrestling giants, one man puts them all to shame, and he's every bit as rugged as the Alps from where he came. The French-born Andre Roussimov's no stranger to our shore. We call him Andre the Giant, and he's every inch and more. And millions stand in line to see God's mightiest creation, who's been called the greatest athlete of any generation. But he's never had a title shot, and we know very well Hulk Hogan has a broken heart, and Andre's mad as hell. What will be the Hulk's reply? We'll have to wait and see. Till then, we're counting down the days till WrestleMania 3.
Wow. Man, that's awesome. Yeah.
And then, this wonderful man, this jabroni that is talking to you now, he takes this jabroni, throws him into the ring, takes my unworthy ass, and wrestles me for NBC. And I have selective amnesia. I don't want to remember 21 years of jabronihood. I want to remember the 13 minutes I spent in the ring with you in Topeka, Kansas. That will live on. And I said, how did it go? I went up and I said,
you want me to say it for you?
You know what? No. Okay. I just need the opening line. I said, there's only one man smart enough to put Hulk Hogan down. The genius has a devastating plan. You're looking at the future World Wrestling Federation, who appeals to the modern thinking fan. When I emerge victorious with gold around my waist, I shall be the most splendiferous of all. Don't tell me Hulk is 6'8" and I'm just 6'2". Between the ears, I'm over 10 feet tall. He wants to wrap his 24-inch pythons around my neck and give his famous, "What you gonna do?" By the power of the genius and the world's smartest man, rely on my incredible IQ. Look, I don't want to, folks, I don't want to hog the show and everything, and I really appreciate you bringing me up here. I just want to say thank you to the fans. Thank you to Jimmy Hart. If it wasn't for Jimmy Hart, you wouldn't even know who the Macho Man was. And because of the ancillary ramifications of same, Randy said, "You got any room for my little brother?" And that was in Memphis. And then you went to the Big Apple, and you gave us the thumbs up, and we came in there. And then who'd have thought it would culminate to this? And Hulk, I love you, brother.
Love you too, my friend.
And I've never had a negative word with you, and we never will.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Whoa, hold on. The genius is not getting out here that easy. Okay, we've been friends for a long time. And you know me. And you know your brother, okay? He had a lot to do with him and I going back and forth, correct?
Yes.
I'm not the only one, right? We went back and forth a lot, but we were good friends for many years, right?
That's right.
Okay, you know him better than anybody.
I do.
Could you tell us one really crazy Macho Man story that we haven't heard? Just one. Give us one, whether it's when you guys are running in Knoxville, whether it's when you met Elizabeth at the gym. Just give us one little, well, I mean, I know she was working in a gym and he only worked out once a day, but when he saw her at the gym, he went 3 times a day, you know? So is there any special little story you could share with us about Randy, how intense he was?
Let me think. There's so many. Of course, I was not the alpha male of the family. I was not even the beta male. What's less than that? Okay? Let me see. Oh man, I'm gonna take all my clothes off and make this pose the thinker. You ever see that? Maybe it's too cold. I don't know.
Oh, brother, easy. Okay, how about this?
I'll think it over while you talk.
No. I heard a story, and just tell me if this is true. Was there ever a situation when you guys were running in Knoxville where there was a fight in a parking lot and a gun was involved, or is that just an urban legend?
I think it was in Nashville.
Aha.
Yes.
Please, I'd love to hear it. I want to hear the real story.
Okay, the real story is, I was with my girlfriend who became my wife and now became ex-wife. And you know, we have an amicable divorce, but I do have a painting of O.J. Simpson on my bedroom. And is that a little?
We can't help you.
Is that a little stiff?
We can't help you.
You're taking all the heat off me. Go, man, go. Go. I didn't do anything wrong. Keep going.
So I was with George Weingroff, El Brazero, myself, my ex-wife, and we all were in Knoxville at the World Fair.
I think I need a drink.
Okay. At the World Fair. That's my alibi. I was not anywhere near Nashville. And Randy had a tendency, if he did not like you, to tell you to your face. Oh, yes. Yes. And for some reason, he did not like superstar Bill Dundee. So, this is the story that I got secondhand, and I'm very glad I wasn't there, because I hate that kind of violence. Okay. So, evidently Randy goes up to Bill Dundee, and Bill Dundee says, "How you doing? Can I use the expletive, or would I..." Would you rather I tone the language down? Okay. I'll change it to bleep, okay?
Was there a gun involved?
Yes. He says, Randy says to Bill Dundee, you don't give a blank how I'm doing. He said, so he said, you're right, Randy, I don't give a blank how you're doing. Boom, right in the cheekbone, broke his cheekbone. And then
Randy hit him.
Randy sucker punched him. And Bill Dundee goes to the trunk of his car and pulls out a gun. And according to, I think my father grabbed his wrist or something like that, and then there was then there was charges pressed, and then all this stuff happened of legality, and
But Randy hit him first.
Randy hit him first.
I know what that's like.
You do?
No, I'm just teasing.
But anyway, Randy was sometimes a little irritable, sometimes a little bit,
Really?
I would say, without speaking ill of the dead, he was excitable, and he sometimes had a tendency to make a mountain out of a molehill. And sometimes I was on the other end of that.
Me too.
But he had an extreme personality, and if he hated you extremely, and he didn't know about forgiveness. But he did a lot of work for a lot of people, and he always, always, always saw the good in people, and he was good to people less fortunate than him. I told a story of the whole of the Special Olympics at the WrestleMania, but it wasn't just that. And I know that you and him went to children's hospitals all the time, and the only thing you got for it is tired. There was no publicity involved. But it's just that both these men cared a lot. And what I would like to do now is, see, when I became 59 years old, I became the older brother. Now I get to make all the unpopular decisions. And I am going to decide that I don't want to have a negative word with anybody, and I just want to live whatever God gives me the rest of my life. What I would like to do is just pass through this world with love and not with hate, without malice, and with good tidings for all. And if you think for 1 minute, if anybody here thinks for 1 minute, that here we are in the ring again, that I can actually beat you, the only thing I can do is beat you to the bathroom to throw up afterwards. Okay? Because this is Babe Ruth of wrestling. You don't know who Babe Ruth is, but
Yes.
this is Ringo Starr, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Elvis Presley, and me. I was just a jabroni that was lucky enough to be in the same ring with you at one moment in time. God bless us all.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lanny Poffo. Thank you, Lanny. Thank you, baby.
Thank you, Lanny. So it wasn't just me. It was Randy, too. He was intense. That's awesome, man.
Beautiful, Lanny. We love you. Rachel, who's next, baby?
Luke's got a question for you. What's the most weirdest Hulk Hogan merchandise you've ever seen?
Well, they made a bunch of Hulk Hogan dolls. They made the ones that ripped the shirt off, the ones that kind of like did the Hulk up. They made the ones that did the bow and arrow, and they made a vibrating Hulk Hogan doll. They made a bunch of weird stuff, but I think the weirdest Hulk Hogan piece of merchandise I've ever seen is a Hulk Hogan potty seat. So, you know, so that the kids can learn how to use the seat. That's really weird. Everybody was sitting on me all over the world. Thank you, brother.
Hulkster, this is a great story over here. This is Evie, and this is Joe. This is the
Hey, guys.
Hulkster.
We were going to go to WrestleMania next year to see you fight, but when all that happened with WWE, we decided we'd rather go to your beach shop. So we would like to know, please, like, what's the chances of you being there? And also, when you like tweeted my mum, she cried.
When are you guys going to be there? September 2nd. Is that like a weekend or
I don't know.
so like coming next year? Well, I don't have a job, so I'll probably be there. But there's a guy, do you know, in the United States, there's a very, very famous movie director. His name is Ron Howard. Well, there's also a Ron Howard that works at my beach shop. He has nothing to do with movies. If you'll call the beach shop, Hogan's Beach Shop, and tell me you guys are coming September 2nd, how long are you guys staying for? If you'll call Ronnie and remind him, you know, closer to that date, if I'm home, I will come see you guys. But like I said, I don't have a job, so I'll probably be there.
Okay, thank you. And also, can we come find you after, like later after the show for a selfie?
Yeah, we're going to be in the heart room up there. Right?
Yeah, Jimmy's going to make an announcement about pictures afterwards.
Okay.
So Jimmy will tell you all the information as soon as we're done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Hey,
Awesome.
you two stay out of trouble.
All right, Rachel.
Hey, Hulk, we've got Harry.
Hi, Hulk.
Hey, brother.
When you, in your career, how did you become one of the great legends?
Oh, well, you know what happened with me? I fell in love with wrestling, and that's all I could think about. I kind of was obsessed with it. 24 hours a day, I would watch wrestling, and I started working out because when I was in high school, I was real fat, and I never had a girlfriend. So when I started working out, all of a sudden I got a girlfriend. I started watching wrestling with her, and she started telling me, "You should be a wrestler. You love it so much." So I just worked out every single day, starting the last couple of years of high school, and I started chasing the wrestlers around and driving them crazy until I finally got in the business, and that's how I did it. I just have been the biggest wrestling fan ever. I still tape everything. I still watch everything. Like Monday Night Raw, I'll tape it. I'll watch it 2-3 times over just to look at all the details, but I just loved it. I had to be part of it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, Huckster, we have Ash from Leicester. Hi, Hulk.
Hey, brother.
I've got 2 questions. This is from a provider we set up and stuff. First, of all the wrestlers that have passed away over the years, who would you have back for one more match?
Oh man, I'd have them all back. You know, it's been tough because, you know, it's kind of like a lot of people come into the beach shop in Clearwater Beach, plug, Clearwater Beach, Hogan's Beach Shop. A lot of people come in, and the other day, this young man brought a lunchbox in. There were 5 guys on the lunchbox. Big Boss Man, Ultimate Warrior, Andre the Giant, Randy Savage, and I was in the middle. So out of the 5 guys, I was the only one alive. So, I mean, that's tough to take, you know, because all my friends, you know, there's me and Jimmy and Ric Flair, and you know, there's just a handful of guys that are still running around. So we've lost so many guys, but the last couple that have gone, you know, Dusty Rhodes and Piper and Macho Man, it just keeps getting tougher and tougher and tougher. So for me to say what guy, I would love to be in the ring again with Randy. I would give my left arm to be in the ring with Piper again. There's just been so many guys that's a hard question, brother. I don't have an answer. That's a tough question, man.
Secondly, what's the best prank that's ever been played while you've been on the road?
The best prank? Well, you know, this is kind of hard to say, but Jerry Lawler wears a crown, you know? And when he'd go to the ring, they would bring back the robe and the title belts or whatever they'd bring back, you know? And they brought his crown back. And I was kind of sitting in the dressing room with the Nasty Boys and a couple other guys, and somebody decided to go to the bathroom in the crown. That's the best one I've seen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Rachel?
We've got Chris.
Hi, Hulkster.
Hey, brother.
One of my favourites of all time is Ric Flair.
Yes, sir.
Do you regret not having the Hogan-Flair match at WrestleMania 8?
Yeah, I definitely regret that, and I just never understood why. He could probably answer the question, but everything was going so well. Chicago, New York, Milwaukee, everywhere I wrestled Ric Flair, we set record business. Everything was pointing to Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair at WrestleMania. That's the way the plans were, and then at the last minute, they changed the plans, and no one ever explained why. I've got an opinion. I just think if Flair and I would have wrestled at WrestleMania and I would have put him over, it would have been the hottest thing going. Him and I could still be wrestling each other. But I really wish we would have wrestled. I think it would have changed the whole history package of the WWE if I'd have wrestled him at WrestleMania. Thank you, brother.
All right, thank you. All right, from right here in Sheffield, we have Chris.
Hi, Hulk.
Hey, brother.
Last guy actually asked what I was originally going to ask, but I've heard Bischoff and Russo's version of events with regards to the story with Jarrett laying down for you, and I've never actually heard what your version of events was.
Well, it's pretty simple. Russo, when Vince Russo got hired, he never met me. And he made a statement when he went to the office that every wrestler that was over 40 years old, he was going to fire, starting with me. That's the first time I ever heard Vince Russo's name. And I heard that I was going to be the first guy to get fired. Well, I had a multi-year contract there, and I was over 40 years old. I think I was like 44, 45, I can't remember. And from day one, Vince Russo said that he was going to fire me, so he couldn't fire me. But things just didn't seem to go well. When he was doing the writing and stuff like that, he came down and told this guy, Bill Shaw, that ran WCW, that he single-handedly was responsible for the Attitude Era, which is not true. The only person responsible for the Attitude Era is Vince McMahon. He runs everything. So push came to shove, things weren't going well, and all of a sudden I had a chance to wrestle Jarrett, and then I was trying to set up Starrcade with me and Ric Flair for the title. So all of a sudden, a guy named Johnny Ace, John Laurinaitis, People Power, he called me up, and I had got him the job at WCW because Eric Bischoff said, hey, there's this guy named John Laurinaitis in Japan. What do you think? I said, well, he doesn't know much about wrestling here in the States, but he's helped Bob run the company, so if you need somebody in the office, he'd be great because he's not one of the boys. He's an office guy. And so he came down, I helped him get the job, and, we talked every once in a while. All of a sudden, I got a call from John Laurinaitis, can I come to your house? I said, sure, come on over, brother. He came over, and he goes, well, Vince Russo wanted me to run a couple finishes by you. One, you guys get going in the ring, Scott Steiner comes down, interferes in the match gets thrown out with some black, stupid finish. I said, no, we're not doing that. Then finish number 2 was, I get in the ring with Jarrett, bang, 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 and Jarrett beats me. I said, no, we're not doing that. I told John Laurinaitis that we're shooting for December, not this weekend. We're shooting for December to set this whole thing up for me and Ric Flair so that we can get things going for the whole next year. So I told John Laurinaitis the finish I would like to do would be bang, 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 this, that, and the other happens. Steiner can come down, it doesn't matter. But whatever happens, Jarrett slips on a banana peel and I drop the leg on him. I don't have to beat him right in the middle. It can be a screw job, but I need to beat him so I can get to Ric Flair. And I said, John, what do you think's the best finish? He goes, well, I like yours. I said, cool, well, that's what we're doing. All of a sudden, I called Eric Bischoff up and I said, brother, I have never exercised my creative control, never. But I don't trust Vince Russo. So I had my attorney send the WCW people in the office the letter that on that night, I was going to tell them what the finish was. That was it. I get to Bash at the Beach. Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff arguing all day. All of a sudden, we called Bill Shaw up and a guy named Harvey Schiller, who was the head of Turner Sports. And instead of me being a bully and pushing the creative control, I said, how about this, Russo? Let's call Harvey Schiller, tell him the finishes, let him make the decision. Because he's above Bill Shaw. So we called Harvey Schiller. Harvey Schiller said, I like the leg drop, so we can get to Flair. And that was it. I thought I was going out in the ring, have a 20-minute match with Jarrett, slip on a banana peel, Steiner come down, pop him off the apron, Steiner accidentally hits Jarrett, whatever the finish was, leg drop, 1, 2, 3, on to Flair. I walked out to the ring, Jarrett laid down, wouldn't get up. That was it. Russo went into business for himself, and that's what we didn't want to do. And then from that point on,
Thank you.
that's my version.
All right, make sure we got a Hulkamaniac over there.
We've got Eddie here.
Hey, man.
Which wrestler do you hate?
Hate or hurt?
Hate.
Oh, I hate God, man. I don't hate anybody. I don't. I'm cool. I'm cool, man. I love Bret Hart. I love Scott Steiner. I love all these guys. I wish we could all be friends. I'm cool, brother. I come in peace.
Thank you. All right, we have Kayla over here.
Hi, Hulk.
I love that shirt.
Inspired by yourself. My question is, being as you was big in the comic book era in the 80s, how do you feel on like Mick Foley and ECW and all the hardcore era? Do you wish you'd been part of that, or is that you?
Well, I love Mick Foley. I mean, total respect for him. He raised the bar. I mean, there will never, ever, 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 ever be another hardcore legend like him. I was kind of jealous because I wanted to get into that ECW stuff, but I kind of like missed the timing. I was doing other stuff, but I think that was really cool. I love that whole ECW era. He did a great job when he came to the WWF and the WWE, and he's done a great job everywhere he went. So I just wish I'd have been part of it, but I think I've been hit the head too much already. Thank you.
Rachel, another Hulkamaniac.
This is Ava.
Do you enjoy wrestling?
I love wrestling, brother. Thank you.
All right, we have a couple of people that will ask you a question over here.
I love you, by the way.
How you doing, Hulk? Don't know where to start, really. Been a fan for about 20 years. Never thought I'd get to meet you. So my only question is, can I shake your hand?
Sure, man. All right, my brother. What happened to your head, man? Love you too, baby. For life.
Thank you, guys. Okay, Rachel.
This is Tim.
Hi, Hulk.
Hey, brother.
My biggest memory of you is Hogan versus Rock. How easy was that to promote, or was it just natural?
You know, for me, it was easy because it was natural. It was a dream for Vince McMahon to promote because I was red hot from the NWO. The Rock needed an opponent, and at the time, Hollywood Hogan was the ultimate bad guy because I'd beat you to death, and as soon as you would point your finger at me, I was the biggest coward in the world. So, I mean, it was easy to promote, but it was even easier in the ring. Once we got out there, the fans were there from the moment we walked out. And the biggest problem I had was getting the fans to cheer The Rock and boo me. It took me about 10 or 15 minutes to kind of like get things turned around where we could really tear the house down. But that was one of my I would say that was my greatest moment in the ring, but I can't say that because my moment with Andre was better. Thank you, brother.
All right, we have Cody over here.
Hey,
I'd
Cody.
like to ask you something.
How many matches have you won?
I won a whole bunch of matches until about 1988. And I started wrestling a long time ago, 1978. And I won almost every single match until 1988 because all the wrestling promoters, if they said, if you get hit with a drop kick, 2 drop kicks, 3 drop kicks, we don't even want you to take a bump. We want Hulk Hogan to be so strong. And it got a lot of heat from the guys in the dressing room. But then about 1988, I started losing a lot of matches. But I won a couple. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Cody. Okay, Rachel.
This is Leslie Ann. Hiya.
How are you?
I just wanted to ask you, when I was younger, I remember you for the very first WrestleMania, and a lot of memories there for me, and I even had a dog called Hogan when I was young. I just wanted to ask, who is your most memorable and enjoyable competitor in wrestling, and what's your favourite signature move?
Well, signature move is the leg drop. But, gosh, it's hard to explain. The guy that I used to love to get in the ring with the most is the one that always worked the hardest, that always worked his gimmick 24 hours a day. The guy that I made the most money with and the guy that I knew I could trust and always do business with. Whether I won or lost, I always knew he would return the favor. You know, it's tit for tat, back and forth. It's like dancing with somebody. If somebody's a great dancer, you can't dance with somebody that's a horrible dancer once you get used to dancing with somebody really good. And the guy that I made the most money with, the guy that we sold out the arenas, I had the greatest time, was the Macho Man. I mean, this guy was Randy Savage, the Macho Man, 24 hours a day, believe me. He was always on, he was never off, but he was the greatest. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we have Robert. He's got a great question for you.
Hey Hulk, I'm just wondering what's the real story about the black eye at WrestleMania 9?
Wow. You know what? I almost lost that eye. The doctors kept trying to take my eye. And like right now, I can see my hand, but I can't see it here. I've got no peripheral vision. We came back from the UK, and we had a tour here with the WWF. We came back from the UK, and when I got home, my wife and kids weren't there. So guess what I did? Hey guys, come on over. Let's go out on the jet skis. And there was a hurricane coming. So me and a guy named Brutus Beefcake and the guy that does all the special effects for the WWE now, a guy named Ellis Edwards. Like if you see the fire going or the pyro, or if you see a limousine blow up, that's Ellis Edwards. He's the guy that does all the special effects. And when I went back to the WWE back in the day to wrestle The Undertaker, I don't know if you remember when The Undertaker drugged me behind the motorcycle. They had a stunt guy there, and I said, what do we need to do so I can get drugged behind the motorcycle safely? He goes, oh, we don't need to do nothing. We'll just tie your legs together. I said, are you sure? So I called my buddy Ellis, who was the stunt coordinator on all my movies. He goes, oh, you need a leather pad on your butt, you need metal pads on your heels, you need pads on your shoulders. So I asked Vince McMahon if I could bring Ellis in just for this one stunt. Brought Ellis in. He's been there ever since. But when we went on the jet skis that day, it was me, Brutus, and Ellis. And Brutus had a really fast jet ski called Polaris. And when we went to get gas, I said, Brutus, let me ride your jet ski. And I don't know if you know anything about jet skis, but the Polaris have a trim tab on it where you can keep the nose in the water. And so we got gas, which put a bunch of gas in the front of the ski. I'd never ridden that ski before, and the hurricane was coming in, and we were jumping these waves. We had a couple beers in us. And we were jumping these waves, and all of a sudden, I launched on this ski, and when it came down, instead of taking off again, it nosedived into the water. And it threw me over the front of the ski. I was going about 50 miles an hour, so when I get thrown over the front of the ski, I tried to duck down in the water, and the life jacket brought me back up. And the jet ski hit me in the face. And it knocked me out face first in the water. Brutus kept going. Thank you, Brutus. And I was knocked out face first in the water. And Ellis came over and he saved my life. He pulled me out of the water. That next day, I had to be in Vegas. So I showed up in Vegas. Vince McMahon saw my face. I had 100 stitches in my eye. My whole orbital socket was broken. Vince McMahon goes, you're not wrestling? And I said, oh, really? He goes, you'll never pass the physical. I said, well, Vince, if I pass the physical, can I wrestle? He goes, if you can pass the physical, you can wrestle. So I pulled the doctor over and I said, hey, doc, this is all makeup here. These are all fake stitches. We shot an angle on TV last week where Macho Man punched me in the face, and this is why I've got all the stitches. The doctor, okay, cool. So I passed the physical, and I went out and I wrestled twice. Well, actually once. I wrestled a tag match with Bruce. Then I went in at the end and won the belt from Yokozuna, but that's the story on the eye.
Thank you. Okay, Rachel.
This is Pete with a question.
Hi Hulk, I've been a huge fan for my entire life, but one thing I've always wondered about was whose idea was the Mr. America gimmick?
That was mine. You know what? You know why I did that? Because when I grew up in Florida, Dusty Rhodes was on TV every week. And they did a loser leave town match where Dusty Rhodes lost, and we thought we'd never see Dusty Rhodes again. The very next week, the Midnight Rider, baby. Dusty Rhodes came back as the Midnight Rider. And it was such a great angle because the Midnight Rider would come in every match and ruin every match for the bad guys. And the good guys would always win. So when I got going in the WWF, I told Vince McMahon, let me come back as Mr. America. Everybody will know it's me, of course. but we'll just have a great time with this. I thought I was coming back with a big push, you know, to make Mr. America like a superhero. And I came back in the very first night in Madison Square Garden. I was in a 6-man tag match in the Garden, and they beat me. So I said, well, I guess I'm not getting a push. Guess what? Here I am. That was my idea. I think it would have been a good one if we'd have ran with it. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.